Can we add music to our podcast?
Can't hear you because I'm jamming. Shh. Do your chat GBT. Let the listener listen. This is me practicing for Tomorrowland 2027. If you don't know what Tomorrowland is, Google it. Okay. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Playbook of the Wealthy. My name is Dave Grant. My co-host is Heather Townsend. Today we are talking about asset location. This is where you choose where you put your investments in different accounts, and by doing so, you get to send the IRS less money, and you get better returns. I know that's exciting. We'll get into it later, but if you haven't been here before, our podcast is split into 4 sections. You get to learn about us professionally, personally. We dive into content, and then we give you answers to questions related to that content. You think we were teachers? We are. All right. If you are visiting the podcast for more than the first time, throw us a like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube channel because a lot of people have been doing that. Follow the podcast. Send it to whoever you think would appreciate this content and would learn. If this is your first time, sit back, enjoy, and the next time you come back, then something is expected of you. Heather, it's been a long time. How are you?
That means you missed me.
Don't think I said that, but of course I did. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'll touch on that at the end personally. Back in Arizona. And on the firm front, okay, I've been putting off testing the AI notes for a very long time. I will say I don't enjoy taking client notes. I rely on them. They are necessary. I love my notes, but I don't enjoy doing them. And so I am currently testing Jump. I've done it in 3 client meetings. 3 clients are okay with the meeting being recorded. I delete it afterwards. I'd say it's like 50%. I still have to add to the notes. It's not there yet.
That's funny you say that. I just started using Jump this week as well.
No way. What's your feedback? Are you trialing it right now?
Yeah, I tried it with an internal meeting with my assistant and it nailed it, but we didn't have much technical stuff to do, but it summarized the conversation very well.
All right. What's going on with you, Dave?
Well, as of this morning, it was nothing too crazy. And then I logged into my company YouTube account, which hosts this podcast, and things took off. So one of our videos in a week had more views than most of our other videos. So it was the Trump's big, beautiful bill for retirees. In 5 days, 1,500 people have viewed it. Subscribers to the channel went up by 10%, which we're a small channel, but we were at 500 and, like 500 the other day, and now it's like 540. And every time I refresh, it keeps going up. And then people start commenting saying, "Oh, I'm retiring soon. I'll probably reach out." I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing this for. Like, we're educating people. We're getting a lot of content out, and now it's starting to gain some traction.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited for you too. I love that because everyone knows, Dave does most of the work on the podcast, like the editing and the posting to YouTube. So very well deserved, Dave.
This is my baby.
I'm very, very happy to hear that.
This is my segment today because you said it last time. Let's dive in. Alrighty, today we're talking about asset location. Now, don't get that confused with asset allocation. They're 2 different things, but asset location is not talked about much. So asset location is mainly talking about the tax benefit of placing investments in certain types of accounts. So for example, something that is taxed according to your tax bracket, which might be high, should probably go in an account that is tax preferential, typically an IRA, because you're not going to get taxed on that until you pull it out. If you have stuff that is not going to be taxed that much, like a municipal bond or an index fund, that can go in an account which is like a taxable brokerage account. So it can be taxed every year, but the tax bill is not going to be much. Or if you're just going to leave that stock or ETF or mutual fund alone, you can throw it in something like a Roth IRA, which is tax-free, and you can just let that ride. There'll be no taxes forever and ever.
To motivate you to listen, I want to tell you that this is a huge benefit to people. This tax efficiency of where you put investments. So Morningstar, which is what, Dave, like an investment research company? Is that how you would describe them?
Yeah.
Yeah. They did a study and they found that the benefit is 75 basis points, so 0.75 of 1% per year for high tax bracket investors. Some advisors do it. I don't think all.
I think it depends on what type of investment client you have, what type of portfolio you have. If it's too small, it's really hard to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the bigger portfolio you have and the more accounts you're using, then it becomes easier. Like if someone walks in with an IRA, you're not going to have any asset location because you got one account, so it doesn't matter.
On another study with putting bonds and IRAs and stocks in taxable brokerage accounts, investors over 30 years ended up with 6 to 15% more wealth. What do you do, Dave? Go into it. Where do you structure your clients' investments in their accounts?
So let's kind of play that with an example. So let's say someone walks in my door, they've got $1 million, $500,000 in a taxable brokerage account, $250,000 in an IRA, and $250,000 in a Roth IRA. More than likely, it's not optimized because not many people are doing this intentionally. But I'm going to look at, okay, if you're investing for retirement, that's probably most people's goal. And you're going to need, from $1 million, let's say we're taking $50,000 a year. That's rough parameters there. I'm going to make sure that that brokerage account doesn't have anything that's throwing off a lot of income. So we're talking ordinary or traditional bonds and real estate. That's typically the most inefficient investments that throw off a lot of income each year. And you're going to see that when you get 1099s each year, that it's just going to be just the line items there just hit your tax return and you have to pay taxes on it.
And let's say why. Really quick, traditional bonds give off interest, which is taxed at ordinary income rates.
All right, so let's go back to the accounts.
Okay.
So we've stripped out real estate and we've stripped out ordinary bonds. If you're high income and you want bonds, then I'm probably putting municipal bonds in that taxable account.
Agreed. Why are you doing that, Dave?
Municipal bonds have tax-free interest at a federal level. Some states do tax it, but for the most part, you're going to save a lot on your tax bill. So then if we're looking at the Roth IRA, that is going to be money that you actually touch last. If you look at a retirement income scenario, you're going to let that ride for as long as possible because you're not paying any taxes on that. So you're going to want to pull it out later when you're not paying any money and you've let it grow for a long time. That's where the aggressive investments are going to go. So your international, your small cap, your emerging markets, because those are so volatile, but over time they do traditionally very well. So you're going to put those in there. In the traditional IRA, it's going to have your inefficient investments, your real estate, your taxable bonds. Your efficient investments are going in your brokerage account. And then if you obviously can't get a perfect design because no one can, then you just try and do the best you can with building out your portfolio to meet your target.
Retirement accounts that you are going to pay ordinary income taxes on, the highest tax bracket when you pull out. The reason I like to put bonds there is because they traditionally, based on history, grow slower. So I want the higher growing assets in the accounts that we're going to pay the least amount of taxes on, right? So I think there's twofold of why you put bonds in these accounts, not just because they give off ordinary income interest that you don't want to pay taxes on, but also because they traditionally grow slower.
The reason you're putting as many stocks inside of your brokerage account is because of capital gains rates. If they grow, let's say your $1 million grows to $2 million, you got $1 million of growth taxed at 15%, that's $150,000. If you had those same stocks in your IRA, it grew from $1 million to $2 million. You have to pull that $2 million out at your income tax rate, 24%, 32%, whatever it may be. Rare that it's going to be 15. So you're going to get better preferential tax treatment if you put in those stocks or assets that are subject to long-term capital gains in a brokerage taxable account versus an IRA.
In Roth IRAs, most of my clients, I will say, are 100% stocks. Like regardless of age. Retirees, 100% stock is in their Roth IRAs or asset accumulators. Even my very risk-averse clients, let's say, that don't have a really high risk tolerance, 100% is in Roth. And we are making up the bond allocation somewhere else. In a perfect retiree portfolio, bonds are all in their traditional IRA, and I have equities all throughout Roth and brokerage. But again, it kind of depends on how much is in each of these accounts and what distribution are they taking, and what legacy positions did I inherit from the previous advisor. That's also a situation I've been in, right? So you have to make what's best. But for ease, that is kind of mine. All right, let's talk about dividends. So there is income that spits off of brokerage accounts, taxable brokerage accounts. It's not interest if you don't have bonds, but it is dividends. And you get these 1099s, and people are probably wondering, why is there ordinary dividends and why are there qualified dividends? Okay. Ordinary are taxed at ordinary income rates. Qualified dividends, though, are taxed at long-term capital gains rates. What makes a qualified dividend? It's normally a U.S. corporation, but also some foreign corps can be considered qualified, which is interesting if there's a tax treaty with the U.S. And you have to have held that investment for 60 plus days before the dividend date, the ex-dividend date, for it to be qualified. And there's this debate of, well, most international investments spit off non-qualified dividends, so they're taxed at ordinary income. How much of an impact is this? Well, first of all, I just want you to know, in my international index funds that I hold, that also my clients hold, 38% of it was non-qualified, so taxed at ordinary income. So what, I paid 15% taxes on that. Let's call it $1,000 for ease. I paid $150 of taxes on those dividends. Or no, my tax rate's probably 35 or 37. I'm outing myself. So okay, $40. But I got a foreign tax credit of almost $300. How big of a deal is this?
Tell us.
Not really that big of a deal. I think these assets grow at different rates, and you could create a whole problem if you just put, I don't know, US growth in one Roth, because historically asset classes perform differently. So kind of where I landed after really deeply studying this and seeing how this is played out, my ideal, sometimes simple is best. Bonds, absolutely, and slow grow investments in the highest tax bracket accounts. But otherwise, I like the diversified stock portfolios in Roth and brokerage, period.
Let me throw a variable in.
Okay, fine.
Now you're dealing with a human client, and they're going to say, well, my brokerage is going to grow really fast and it's going to bounce all over the place. My IRA is going to grow really slow. I don't want that. I want them to grow the same.
That is our job, right? And I've had clients say that it is their journey and their money, but I am here to be the best guide I can be. So I give them the pluses and minuses to that decision, which I can. But if that's what they want, fine. I've documented it. I've told them the pluses and minuses. But at the end of the day, if they want to pay more taxes, that is their choice. Something I'm struggling with in this situation is I think I have more younger clients than you do, would be a guess, because you mostly have retirees. I have a mix of retirees and business owners and execs. Yep. I have a hard time putting this into practice right now because it's so early on in their investing life.
So where this really starts to make a difference is when you're generating retirement income. They're not anywhere close to that yet. So this is still their investing journey. If they have bonds in their portfolio, chances are it's going to be qualified dividends if you're getting dividends, or the size of their bond position with the interest it's giving off isn't going to swing their tax situation that much. And then if you're adding money consistently to it, I mean, the market's going to go through its swings. It's going to go up and down. You're going to start investing. It may swing their portfolio this way and that way. They still have a long way to go in their investing journey. So if they get a little bit more conservative, the market or their contributions and aggressively saving is going to swing them back the other way. That is not necessarily going to affect them long term that much just yet. It's more when they get to, that 5 to 10 years before retirement, they can't afford those huge dips and they need as much tax breaks as they can get because it's typically the peak earning years and their portfolio is as big as it is. The distributions are starting to add up and it could affect their tax situation quite substantially. So that's when it becomes more beneficial.
That's what I was thinking. As my clients near financial freedom is when I start paying attention to it. I'm like, now we need to start making the switch. Mm-hmm.
For some of my clients, they may not have a Roth IRA if they're 50 because it's all 401k, all brokerage. We may be waiting until they retire when they get into a lower tax bracket to start doing the Roth IRA with Roth conversions. If you're currently using Advisor, throw them this question. How are you designing my portfolio as it relates to asset location? The answer you get...
Or tax efficiency for tax.
Yeah, the answer you get back will determine how hard they're working for you. Mm-hmm. If they can give you a detailed answer of how they're investing the accounts, fantastic. If they say, oh, that's something we're not really looking at, let's go into our next segment. It is called What Would You Do? These are the questions that are related to this content. If you didn't quite get what we were talking about, hopefully these questions will start to resolve it for you. Question number 1. I am in the 37% tax bracket, so one of the highest, and have an IRA and a taxable investment account. How can I arrange the investments inside these to be the most tax efficient? Heather Townsend, you're on the clock.
As we discussed, bonds in the IRA, I would want your slow growers in the IRA where you're going to be taxed the highest. And then your equity stock positions in your brokerage, your taxable investment account. If you need bonds in your brokerage account, because let's say you don't have enough in your IRA to make up for the allocation you want, then you would put munis in your brokerage account. How'd I do, Dave?
Great.
Boom.
With a bow.
Okay.
All right, next one.
I have a $7 million portfolio, but want it to be very conservative with $5 million in bonds. I don't have retirement accounts and only a taxable portfolio. How should I design this to maintain my 30-70 allocation and minimize my tax bill?
30-70 off. That's 30% in stocks and 70% in bonds. This is a very conservative portfolio. I'm assuming this is someone who wants to preserve their wealth or someone very old who doesn't like risk. With that being said, if you're doing $5 million in bonds, you need to be careful. Because if you don't have any retirement accounts and it's just a taxable portfolio, if you did all $5 million in municipal bonds, depending on your income, you're then going to be subject to AMT because you're overloading on something that's tax-free. And the IRS sometimes doesn't like that. If that doesn't work, your next step, you can do a tax-deferred annuity. So you can essentially say, let's take $1 million of my portfolio, throw in a tax-deferred annuity. You're not going to trigger that annuity and start taking the payments, but you're using that for the tax-deferred nature of it, and you can put taxable bonds in there. So that means that it's going to be part of your allocation. It doesn't matter what type of bonds you have in there. They could be very tax inefficient, but because it's in that tax-deferred annuity wrapper, you're not going to get taxed on it.
You're going to think I'm nuts too. $5 million in muni bonds, too much exposure too. I think in just muni bonds.
Question number 3. My wife and I maintain separate accounts. She primarily has retirement accounts, while I have a taxable brokerage account containing all of my investments. We also have an income of $550,000 most years. How can we approach asset location given this setup?
If they're younger, let's say farther than 5 to 10 years from retirement, munis and brokerage, as we've discussed. If closer to retirement, I would put the entire bond allocation in the pre-tax if I can, and equities and brokerage.
So the wife's accounts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Assuming the pre-tax, yeah. So bond allocation and wife, and then equities in brokerage and equities in Roth.
This will be, that's textbook, the answer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's then when you come along and explain to the wife, your accounts aren't really going to grow. Husband, your account may take off. Are you both okay with this?
Again, we communicate. Money is emotional, but I think, yes, you have to state that. But this is where I do see with couples, there's data in this. I see it all the time. I tell my clients, when couples work together as a team, financial goals are reached faster, more efficiently.
This is where you then tell the wife, I'm saving you money on taxes. Mm-hmm. Think how many purses you can buy. And she's like,
It's a good one. You got to find that motivation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into the final section of our podcast. It's called Highlights. This is where you get to learn about the personal side of us, whether you want to or not. I'm going to go first because this show has rocked my TikTok algorithm and a 3-year-old birthday party that I just went to. So, Netflix show. It's called The Hunting Wives. I have
I'm sorry. You're watching that?
Let me speak. My Hollywood crush is Brittany Snow. Since Pitch Perfect 1. Oh, if I was allowed to have a pen up on my wall that my wife won't allow, Brittany Snow would be it. So when I saw that she was on the show and my wife turned it on, I was like, I have to watch all of it because it's her. My wife fell asleep in the first episode. I did not. I watched it, and then I watched the second episode, and then I turned to Sarah the next day. I'm like, don't watch this show. This is a hot mess express. This should not be a Netflix show. This should be an HBO After Dark show because it's out there. And so she was like, okay, I'll find something else. I then watched it, went to a 3-year-old birthday party. Someone at the party said, have you watched this show? Like almost like under their breath, knowing that I watch a lot of Netflix. I'm like, yeah. It was something else. And they're like, I know.
Wait.
Let's not talk about it.
Wait. Okay. Is it a lot or whatever term you use because it's inappropriate, like sexually or?
So the storyline is a murder whodunit. The side storylines are sexually inappropriate to watch with people under the age of 18 in the room. Like they are out there for a Netflix show.
And what does this say about our culture? Because isn't it rated #1 on Netflix right now?
It's actually a good story.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a lot of side twists and you have to figure out who did it. So that's the main storyline. But there's these side plots that go off and you're like, huh, haven't seen that in a TV show before. Back to the story.
You just got me to want to watch it now. I wonder how my husband's going to react.
He's going to love it or he's going to hate it. Mm-hmm. One of the two.
Okay.
All right. How about you?
So I'm back in the Valley, back in Arizona, after 2 weeks of no childcare. The first week we were still in Park City and tried to work. Went okay. But I will say we then went on to Jackson Hole. But Alex and I were exhausted because we had to pack up after being in the unit for 5 weeks. We've had no childcare and been working. Mm-hmm. We were exhausted getting to vacation. Like, I will say Jackson Hole and the Tetons are absolutely stunning. I saw Buffalo for the first time. But I will say that school started on Monday. And I really wanted to get out of the routine when I left the Valley, but I can't tell you how happy I am to have a routine. I was very happy to be making their lunch, packing their backpack, taking them to school. The nanny is on today. I am happy to be back.
Jordan, you're up. Go.
All opinions expressed by Dave Grant and Heather Townsend are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the views of their respective wealth management firms. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Nothing in this material constitutes a solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Clients of Retirement Matters and Townsend Financial may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Playbook of the Wealthy. You can find us on whichever platform you listen to podcasts, and you can watch the show on YouTube, like thousands of people are, or LinkedIn or Instagram. If you want to send an email to the show with your question or anything else you want to say, you can send it to hello@playbookotw.com, and we'll see you next time.
Toodles.